And this is Karen Massin, and she's the head of government affairs and public policy at Google. She engages in various policy areas affecting the digital industry, such as platform policies, privacy, content management, economic recovery, sustainability, and she's also a board member of Digital Europe. Now, we are super excited to have Karen with us today, and I would love to welcome her to the stage, Karen Massin.
As you can see, Gori and I coordinated our outfit, so we look like twins today, which is very good. So hi, I'm Karen. I actually work in Brussels. I'm delighted to be welcoming you on behalf of Google.org, which is basically helping vulnerable communities all over Europe and all over the world. And when we see that it's important to really increase the capability in terms of digital economy, we're really very happy to actually be partnering with DigiCo. I mean, for those who are not familiar with Google.org, this is basically the philanthropic arm of Google, and we provide a lot of technical expertise, because we have quite a lot of that, but also basically funding. So let me start maybe by zooming out, into what's happening, every day outside. And I think in Brussels, we actually know that. But we have been a bit in the midst of real global challenges. We have a war at the door. We have basically rising prices. We have economic sourcing, which are problematic. And what we see also, we have a global climate crisis. And so there is a lot of basically challenges, and it provides a lot of inequality. And I think Gori said that, well, the most vulnerable actually are the ones suffering the most. And what we see as well is that societies and economies have actually, are going to keep on facing this uncertainty. And this is why we need to be helped by digital transition. We see, from the latest study from McKinsey that the markets and the companies and then the countries who've actually had more digital support and more digital skills have been suffering less in terms of recession. And that's what we want to do. We want to be able to use digital skills at the horizontal skill and to make sure that the people are going to benefit from that so that they're not going to be suffering. And also they're going to be more resilient because unfortunately there are going to be more crises. So if we look at the European Commission Digital Decade, what we see that digital skills and also supporting the digitization of SMEs are going to be key to create a more sustainable, inclusive, and digital future. And we think that we all have a part to play, us at Google, but also with DigiCo. And we think that's why it's very important to have this, this shared objective. But we also think that the best solution is when we collaborate together, because each of us, we have a little part of the puzzle, and if we work together, we actually become stronger. So that's why we need to partner with local and regional actors, but also between the industry, government, and local communities. And this is why we actually feel that, providing our support to DigiCo makes a lot of sense. And it's actually critical to drive the digital transformation forward because we do not want to leave the people behind, because the people are the fundament of our society. We want to empower them, and we want to make sure that they have access to the opportunity and to put them on the path of prosperity. Because we see that, the underserved groups, when you give them the resources and the opportunities, they actually develop, and when they develop, actually their communities around them develop. And this is why we need to empower them with digital skills. And it's basically going to give them possibility to kind of have a mobility towards the economic path. And Google.org, back in 2017, allocated 100 million euros to actually be able to provide some skills and to actually give some economic opportunities. And we've actually been partnering with local organizations to actually make that happen. And I think there are 4 learnings that we developed from this work over the last years I would like to share. The first one is that there is actually limited collaboration and knowledge exchange. A lot of nonprofits spend a lot of time to develop their own framework for training. And there is actually no database by which you can share that, which would actually allow to localize faster, and so that they would spend less time and actually on designing and more time on delivering. So that's the first thing. The second learning we got is that organizations face a lot of challenges to reach the vulnerable groups. Finding and reaching the ones which are the furthest away, basically, from the society is actually quite hard. And a lot of organizations work in silos from each other. So the more collaboration we can have and the more sharing of best practices actually would be really, really helpful. third learning is actually a lack of consistent assessment framework. Every organization is doing its own assessment framework towards what is upskilling of people or organizations, and it's actually difficult to assess at the end of the day what skill they learned and to compare it. And it's also problematic for the organizations because it's hard for them to measure and to report on the progress they have achieved. And then the last learning is that there is also a gap between the training providers, the assessment framework, and the expectations from the employers. So what we see that, the learners, they spend 6 months, learning a training, and actually, because there is no assessment, they've got a hard time to show to the employer what level they achieved, and then there is a bit of a gap, basically, with the employer expectations. So this is something that, is a lot of challenges, we realize. It's quite complex, it's quite systemic, and we're not going to solve it, right away, but if we all work together to develop a system, actually it's going to be the right way forward. And that's exactly why we're supporting Digico, because we're going to actually, it's going to serve as an umbrella organization to actually gather the pan-European community and actually going to help, to build that exchange of knowledge, learning content, and best practices. And we also think that, we're going to be able, as you said, to streamline basically the skill assessment framework, building on the work from the Commission, from DG Comp, and actually, use it as a tool, because we believe that we're stronger if we work together. And finally, I know they're like brilliant speakers, so I have to stop, very soon, like very good panelists, and I actually look forward basically to listen to the conversation. But, there is one thing that I wanted to close with that, when people actually have access to technology, you can actually see that they actually can develop. And I think this is actually what I find inspiring. So there's a lot of possibility and a lot of developments which are going to be coming ahead, and especially for the most vulnerable. And as you say, Gori, there's a lot we can do into the people so that we don't leave them outside. And that's why I'm delighted that we're helping Digico so that we can all together basically build a fairer, greener, and healthier society. Thank you very much.